This is going to be a video on my Meet the Beatles vinyl, cassette, and CD collection. And even though Meet the Beatles is not my favorite Beatles album, I do have a very sentimental place for it just because I think that it was one of the first Beatle albums that I ever owned. Just the fact that it was the first Beatle album that really took off in America. And I think the song selection is actually better than the British counterpart with the Beatles. And the first album that I'll show is my mono copy. I don't have the original inner sleeve on this. But just finding a decent quality jacket on this is quite a find, just because this album is so old. And to find an original pressing, I believe this is an original pressing, in decent condition without any seam splits, without any ring wear, without any significant fading on the cover, is really something to be treasured. This is my stereo copy, and again, I think it is an original pressing. And this is a very clean copy, no seam splits. It does actually have what I believe to be the original inner sleeve. And it's really, it's not 180 gram, but the vinyl is definitely thicker than some of the other pressings that I have, even of some of the later American Beatle albums. This is a either 1970s or 1980s pressing. It does have the gold record award here. And also the lettering here is a little bit more orangish than gold, like the dark gold that the original copies had. And this is on the purple capital label, which, as most people know, these pressings were not very great. The sound on these is not good at all, but just to have a vinyl copy, and this was the first copy, vinyl copy that I had, because when I started buying Beatle albums, the only ones that were available in the stores were the purple capital label, because I started getting into the Beatles in the early 80s. This is my cassette of Meet the Beatles. And the track listing is actually the same, believe it or not, and this is a rare instance where the track listing is the same on the vinyl and the cassette. Usually the cassette had a weird track listing and the songs were all jumbled up, but on this one, incredibly, they did not mess with the track listing in order to preserve the continuity of the sides. Now, the first time that this became available on CD, apart from bootlegged or CDR burn versions, was as part of the Capitol Albums Volume 1 box set, and this is where this CD comes from. And you can see everything is a exact replica of the cover until it comes to the track listing, because both the mono and the stereo versions are available on this CD, and so that's what they list on the back here. Although the CD itself does somewhat replicate the original vinyl album. There's no inner sleeve on these, they just are here on the cardboard. And there's also no spine on here either, it's just a plain white spine. Now, when the US albums came out, the box set, Meet the Beatles was also released, and it did come in this cellophane sleeve here, and it does replicate the original back cover and front cover. And it comes in like a little cellophane, also protective sleeve. And again, like with the other US albums, it does have the original inner sleeve, which is a nice touch. So anyway, that's my Meet the Beatles Capitol album collection, vinyl, cassette, and CD, and I appreciate you watching.